Evidence on the ground is pointing to the fact that Bobi Wine has won Uganda's presidential elections. Unfortunately, evidence on the ground is also suggesting that incumbent President Yoweri Museveni will be announced as the winner.
What is your next course of action if, in fact, we do see an alleged rigging of the election? What is your plan next?
First and foremost, it is interesting to see that everybody in Uganda and outside Uganda sees impending rigging. But what we have called upon the people of Uganda is to take charge of their country, not to leave it to just politicians, not even to myself. We went into this election amidst all the violence and brutality because we wanted to reach out to the people of Uganda and awaken them. We know that when the people of Uganda rise to the occasion and demand for what is rightly theirs, they will get it. This has happened in Madagascar, it has happened in Sudan, it has happened in Egypt. It is happening in Iran, and it definitely can happen in Uganda.
I feel hopeful but anxious at the same time. I mean, this is supposed to be an election, but it's trouble everywhere. As we speak right now, the internet is off in the whole of Uganda. As we speak right now, our polling agents are being picked by security. The whole of Western Uganda and Northern Uganda, they're being picked. Even my deputy president in charge of Western Uganda has been picked up, and I'm told she's been detained in a military barracks. So it is crazy what is happening. It's supposed to be an election, but besides switching off the internet, our agents are being picked by security to ensure that the election happens in the dark.
Why do you think this is happening to you specifically?
Well, this is happening to me and my team because the regime is scared about us. We are the real opposition, and the regime knows that they are losing. They are losing this election, so they are intending to rig it massively. The election is being rigged as we talk right now. The internet is off and the journalists are not allowed in some places. And like I said, our agents are being arrested to ensure that they rig without any.
And now, updates from Uganda. Opposition leader Bobi Wine claims there is a massive ballot surfing as Ugandans are in polls. That means what? That means the results of the election, he already know that has been tempered according to him. And I say this, as Uganda is in this period, the polls, opposition leader have sounded the alarm for too long during campaign, during the election day, which was on 15th. Right now, he's still having the doubts that the election will be free and fair. And of course, it is something that we have to look into it, because once election is not free and fair, that means the people will not get the justice they want. The people will not choose according to what they want. Now, at the same time, Uganda long-time ruler Yoweri Museveni is seeking the 7th term, extending the rule that began in 1986. My mom was not born yet, I think so. And this is not just about Uganda's story. Why I'm talking about this is because this is an African story. This is a black people story. This is a power versus people story. Because what happens when a leader refuses to leave? What happens when ballots don't matter? What happens when youths outnumber the system? But the system still controls the guns. And let's slow this down. Bobi Wine is not just an opposition candidate. Bobi Wine represents the youths, represent first-time voters, urban youths, first-time voters, artists, hustlers, students, the generation born after Museveni took power. And he came from music, culture, and the streets, not from the bourgeois generation. That alone makes him dangerous to the system. Now, when Bobi Wine says that there's massive ballot surfing, he's not making up casual accusation, but he's pointing to reports of ballot boxes arriving already fixed, voting material appearing before polling stations or polling starts, or opposition agents are being blocked or arrested. So this is it's control. It's not democracy at all. Now, let me talk about the environment surrounding Ugandans today, because Uganda did not wake up to the festive of democracy, but Uganda, it woke up to a heavy military deployment during election. So I will say this openly. That was election under siege, or election under siege. People say siege, people say siege. Because the Ugandans waking up, armed police everywhere, waking up, internet shutdowns and restrictions, media intimidation. Ask yourself this question honestly. If you are winning fairly, why do you need soldiers at polling stations? Internet shutdowns are not random. They are strategic. They do three things. They stop people from sharing evidence. They stop people from controlling the narrative. They isolate citizens from the world. And when the internet goes off during an election, this is not about security. This is about hiding the truth. There's a truth they are hiding. Now, let's talk about Museveni. Museveni came to power promising democracy, promising stability, a break from dictatorship. And nearly like 40 years later, term limits were removed, age limits removed, opposition removed, youth distance or decent militarized. And I'll say this is no longer liberation leadership. This is entrenchment. Museveni defenders always say the same thing, that he brought stability. But stability for who? For political elites? For military generals? For foreign interest? That's a yes. But for unemployed youths, for artists jailed for lyrics, for voters beaten for wearing red, that is not stability. That is controlled stagnation. Uganda is young, very, very much young. And most Ugandans were not alive when Museveni took power. To them, he is not just a liberator. To them, he is the system. And system don't like being challenged by people with smartphones, by people with social media, by people with the culture, by people with numbers. And that's why Bobi Wine scares them. Let me say this. We have ballots and we have bullets. When ballots don't work, people start believing only bullets do. And this is the most dangerous place a country can reach. And that's why fair election matters, not just for Uganda, but for African future. So the so-called, for example, the so-called international community always say we are monitoring the situation, but monitoring situations without consequences is meaningless. Because year after year, reports are written, statements are released, nothing changes. Ugandans, we have noticed this, and Africa, we have noticed this. So this is not Museveni versus Bobi Wine. This is old power versus new power. Guns versus voices, fear versus hope. And no matter what happens in this election, the truth remains, you cannot arrest a generation forever. My message to Ugandans who are watching this video, the people of Uganda, your courage is seen, your struggle is hard, and your pain is not invisible. History always remembers those who stood up even when they were outnumbered. That's the reality. Now, I'm going to say this again. When people hear ballot surfing, they imagine someone sneaking extra papers into a box. But modern election manipulation is far more organized, far more institutional. And here's how it often works in the environment like this in Uganda. First, you control the Electoral Commission. If the referee answers to the president, game over. Second, delay or block opposition polling agents. If no one is there to watch, anything can happen. Third, you pre-fill results at tally centers, not polling stations. That's why numbers change between the village and the capital. Fourth, intimidate voters early, so turnout drops into opposition areas. It draws lower. Low turnouts help whoever controls the system. And finally, flood the airwaves with peace. Flood the airwave with peace messaging while silencing dissent. Peace becomes code they don't, or for become code for don't questioning the power. People will ask, where's the proof? But here's the truth. Proof is hard to get when phones are confiscated, when the internet is down, when journalists are detained, when witnesses fear retaliation. So it's very hard. In those conditions, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It is evidence of suppression. Tell me what you think on the comment section about that video. Until next episode, peace out.